Welcome to the Curator of the Culture, your weekly portal into the vibrant intersections of style, innovation, and culture. I'm Garrett, the curator and guide through this journey. From the latest sneakers to groundbreaking tech and car designs, we're here to explore it all. But before we dive in, let me share a bit about myself. I've been immersed in the world of design since the age of 6, sketching shoes and cars with a passion that only grew stronger over the years. I honed my skills through countless hours of design, eventually creating over 5,000 edited sneaker mock-ups, a journey that led me to an interview with Nike in 2017. Though they didn't offer me a spot on their team, I refused to be deterred. In 2020, I unveiled the Fear God 6, a bold fusion of the Air Jordan 6 Infrared and the Nike Fear God 1s. The design went viral online, eventually being made for Trinidad James by legendary shoemaker The Shoe Surgeon. But I didn't stop there. I continued to push boundaries, unleashing the world's first Bluetooth LED Nike Air Force 1s, a testament to my relentless pursuit of innovation and creativity. Join me each week as we uncover the stories, trends, and personalities shaping the landscape. This is the Curator of Culture. But so like I was saying, wanted to discuss a little bit about how I've arrived here to being the curator. We all are on social media, most of the day, and we all see things, and so pretty much just during my personal time on social media, I collect and see things, and I thought it would be a good outlet to be able to express a bunch of things that I see that I find interesting from a bunch of different places that that I noticed that not one person is speaking about in totality. Excuse me. And so, yeah, it's just like, I know there's people much like myself who are into a bunch of different things, and typically you got to go to a different source for each one. You know what I mean? And not that I'm trying to be the end source of everything, but I'm just like, hey, if there are people who are interested in the same things that I'm interested in, or at least value my opinion and you know what I mean, want to actually listen, then why not try to share it. uh so that's really why I wanted to start this. And I think a lot of times we all need examples of things in life. You know what I mean? A lot of times you don't really know, you don't really decide something until you see it. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, no idea is original. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm not the first person to do a podcast, but I might be the first to do it this way. You know what I mean? So it's really just like, hey, what have you seen? And then what can you take from that and make it your own? And so I've personally put in enough social media time, you know what I mean, and I've gotten nothing back from it in terms of monetary or anything like that. So it's just like, hey, if I'm investing in all this time into other people's platforms and media, why wouldn't I start to want to do the same for myself? If you're able. So that's why we're here. And I learned as a teenager, young teen, I met a guy, and I'll never forget. And he was pretty interesting to me. I know he had done all sorts of things in life, but the one thing he told me was just like, I tried to learn a little bit about everything, and that really stuck with me. And ever, you know what I mean? It was just like, that makes so much sense, and I pretty much held on to it. Do you, I see a huge benefit of being somewhere and just a random topic comes up, and even though you might not be an expert in it, to know a little bit of something about it, you know what I mean, just to give your insight, or at least to not be completely blind or dark in the conversation. You know what I mean? I feel like that's just something that is one of the most valuable things that you can have. And there's so much information out there, and things to be learned, that why would you want, or how could you learn? You can't, you know what I mean? How could you ever stop learning or wanting to learn? And so I see things that are fascinating all the time, and I find value in it, and I feel like sharing it can hopefully bring value to someone else. You know what I mean? Because this is all about information and passing it. That's the only way that we're going to be successful as a whole, is if, you know what I mean, we're passing successful information, not, horrible information, or information that isn't going to really be, positive, or, do anything beneficial. So, yeah, I'm going to, as I move forward with these, gonna try to expand, just on my thoughts, and try to really open up on what's going on. And so the last, or not the last, but the first two episodes, I didn't really start by going into detail of what we would be covering, and so moving forward, I kind of want to do that just at the start of the show, just so you know what I mean, you have an idea. And so I will be trying to put up the topics on the screen. I haven't quite learned it, but I think I know how. But we'll get there. But let's let's jump into at least what some of the stuff we'll be covering. There's a lot of stuff, especially in pop culture right now. But you know what I mean. Let's at least we can discuss some of the stuff. And I know one of the biggest things is the whole Diddy lawsuit. I guess it's probably more than a lawsuit, you know what I mean? Because it's more than just a lawsuit. It's a whole gang of stuff. But yeah, I gotta talk about the Diddy thing. There's something going on with Kim Kardashian that I heard about. That's pretty crazy. So yeah. Then protesters in Peru over them basically classifying a bunch of people as crazy for mental illnesses. Yeah, we got Cam on CNN, which was interesting. We're gonna touch on that. Boeing saga. Yeah. So we'll be talking about what's going on with Boeing. That's yeah. Head transplant. Yeah. Head transplant. Head transplant. It's they say it's a concept, but in theory, it's possible. So yeah, head transplant. Head transplant. Okay. We got a new Edward Scissorhands remake coming up. In sports, Tim Duncan, Richard Jefferson podcast. We have Antonio Brown files for bankruptcy. And we got Lewis Hamilton being gifted a authentic, original Ayrton Senna helmet. Yeah, that's pretty cool. In shoes, we got this new brand EQLZ. Can't wait to touch on that. We got Nike trying to sue I Hate Sneakers trademark. We have some new Supreme patent leather Wallabies, Clark's Wallabies. We got a new Sperry's and Concepts collab collection. We got Skepta saying that Nike treated him like an influencer. The DMV Foamposite ones. Yeezy Day 2024. And last but not least for shoes, we got Kool Kai will have to pay Nike $1 million in a settlement. Next up, in car news, Nissan making a perfume that smells like tires. We got the BMW Skytop concept and the new Kia EV3. Music, we got Apple Music's 100 Best Albums. Drake's new lyrics not even lyrics, but Drake's new verse in the Sexy Red's new song. We got a new Vince Staples album, and we got a new Gunna album. Can't wait to dive in on those. Next up, I did see something in nature, so we will be talking about that. Killer Whales takes down a great white by itself, and also two species of orcas now. Last up, financing new homes for rent in Las Vegas. Can't wait to talk about that one. Let's get started. This is the Curator of the Culture. I'm your host, Garrett. Welcome. So we pretty much gonna dive right into it. This Diddy stuff. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, hearing about it, but pretty much since Cassie filed the lawsuit at the beginning of the year, it might have been the very end of last year, but the beginning of the year it went through, and she sued Diddy over a whole gang of stuff, and now there's just been lawsuit after lawsuit coming after him for a whole slew of things. And I find, I wanted to say this just on record that there was always something about him that rubbed me the wrong way. No Diddy. There was just something about his aura that just didn't sit well with me. And just, hearing about this stuff now, it's just like, those thoughts and feelings were warranted. And so, he did issue an apology to Cassie that was insane. Usually when you're going through this type of legal stuff, they urge you to not speak at all because anything you say basically can, be used against you. And so, he went on record basically, apologizing for, his behavior in the past. And, it's crazy, to think that that's going to work, I guess, or that someone's going to actually take that to heart, and so, there was this video that just surfaced of him actually assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. And that's a real video. There's no way you can get out of that. You know what I mean? Like, a picture says 1,000 words, a video says the whole damn story. You know what I mean? And so, how, what are you apologizing to or for? You know what I mean? Like, nah, it's a wrap. And I will say that I understand that this industry, especially the higher ups, it's a grooming thing. And I'm pretty sure he was groomed from someone. And so it's just like, there's always someone on top, behind the scenes. And it's just like, at this point, I don't know if Diddy is the scapegoat for the higher ups that are, that have more power than Diddy, or if Diddy just, dug a ditch so deep that he pretty much got to die on the ledge by himself. You know, I could see it going either way. But then, there's a lot of talk of Diddy having a lot of information on pretty much all the celebs, you know what I mean? And having videos on, them doing all sorts of crazy things. And if that's true, this is a very touchy and going to be a very sticky situation. There was talk to him being a FBI or a CIA informant, and it's just like, man, this, it gets hella deep. And so I think moving forward, it'll be super interesting to see how it plays out. But I do think that at this point, he is going to be screwed. Like, I can't see him getting out of this unscathed at all. Just absolutely, I couldn't. I also seen that his drug mule, who actually was a Syracuse basketball player. Any of you guys that know me, I'm born and raised in Syracuse. So that part was kind of like close to home. And granted, that player, he's not from Syracuse, but he played in Syracuse. He's apparently working with the authorities and won't, suffer any jail time. So that tells you he's telling everything that he knows. And so for Diddy, that definitely ain't good either. You know what I mean? He's gonna have to really face. He's got some interesting things he's gonna be facing soon, for sure. And one of the last things that I did want to say about this Diddy thing was that there's a new lawsuit that just was filed, or at least that just surfaced within the last few days, of him allegedly assaulting someone and them keeping the clothes unwashed and then in plastic wrap. And so that means DNA. And you know what I mean? DNA doesn't lie. That's nothing to play with. So if that's indeed true and they can, figure, get that DNA match, that's just, another nail in the coffin for old boy. I find it to be a very interesting end to a amazing music legacy. And it's funny, kind of the same demise, not in the same ways, but the same demise as Death Row and Suge Knight. He's now in jail serving like life or something close to it. And just think about the impact that Suge had in the music career, or I'm sorry, the music world. So it's amazing. It's amazing how these people can accomplish so much and then end up I guess losing it all, you know what I mean? Because when you're in jail, you know what I mean, for life, you don't, you know what I mean? You pretty much ain't got much left. So that's pretty much what's going on with the Diddy stuff right now. I guess I do, I want to say to anyone that has been affected by, physical, sexual assault, any assault really, I feel for you. And it's pretty apparent that we do need to obviously start taking assault more seriously. You know what I mean? And if someone's alleging it, we need to, really take them serious and look into it, no matter who they are or their accomplishments, because it really is a real thing, and it goes, unnoticed and swept under the rug just because of relationships and things like that, And so, yeah. Next up, we do have I seen it a few weeks ago, but I missed out on it on the first or maybe the second episode. But two New Orleans teens find trigonometric proof of the Pythagorean theorem. And while I have no idea what the hell that means, um, within reason, you know what I mean? It was awesome because when I seen that it was two young black girls, I was just like, like, whoa, this is awesome. And it actually happened. They actually discovered it, a few years ago, I think 2022. But of course, you know what I mean? Sometimes you don't hear about it until you hear about it. But it was just, one of them things that I was just like, man, this is just great. You know what I mean? For our culture, for the people to see something like this. And I had actually watched I don't know, it was like a CNN type of thing on them, and they actually were able to figure out the theories like a number of different ways, more than just one. And it had only been done maybe once other by actual mathematician, in his 40s or 50s. And I think that was in the 70s, and then it hadn't been done before that ever. And so basically, they are doing something at a very elite level that has never been done too much. And you know what I mean? Like, you just have to like tip your hat and salute them. And they do go to or at least they did. It was an all girls like charter school, but just they interviewed the dean of the school, and their rhetoric for all the students was just awesome. Like, no, even though these girls did that, they're no different than any of the other girls, in that all these girls are capable of doing it. And and these girls were just normal students, you know what I mean? So they say, and they were like, they didn't even really like math. And I'm just like, that makes it that much even like crazier, like that you're able to accomplish something that great, and it's not even something that you typically enjoy doing. That just speaks to me about their intelligence and their ability. So kudos to them. Black Girl Magic is awesome. We will shift and we will talk about Kim Kardashian for a quick second. I guess you like to stay in the news. But there's been alleged that she has been reported to have been taping black celeb males, in all sorts of compromising positions, drugging them, and everything for all, like, I don't know, but it sounds crazy. She is like extorting, you know what I mean? Like, and it just like, we all know who her husband was Kanye, and all of the things that he alleged, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems kind of like, if she, you know what I mean, indeed has these tapes, like, what's going on? I've been, putting my tinfoil hat on, and I've been wondering, like, I wonder if they were like planted by, you know what I mean, the government, or at least backed by someone to really be like a handler for, African American athletes, or the A-list African American athletes or something like that, because it just like it starts to like not even make sense. How it just plays out and moves and everything. But there's not a whole lot to say about it. You know what I mean? Until there's something more official. But I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, next up, we got these protesters rallying in Peru against a decree declassifying 7 gender identities as mental illness, including transgenderism. And you know what I mean? I'm sure this is a super touchy subject. Touchy subject. But I think they might be onto something, because while I have no problem with anything anyone chooses to do or be, I do believe that there are levels of mental illness associated to some of them, or can be. And yeah, so Peru is just going for it. And you know what? I think this is in Peru, but I also remember it could have been somewhere else, but I don't know if that would have made much sense. I probably should have looked into that a little bit more, because when I seen it, it was well over a week ago. And so when I was doing that, writing down notes, I just wrote down what I seen, but not exactly where it was. And so, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I find that to be pretty interesting. So, you know, transgenderism. I don't know if, you know, if they consider being gay a mental illness. I could see that possibly being in there. That would be interesting, because even myself, you know, I don't know if I believe that being gay is a mental illness. I can't say I see that. So I don't know. Find that interesting. Now we got Cam on CNN. Man, Cameron, what a guy, what a character. I've been a fan of Cam for a while, man. Pretty much ever since like Horse and Carriage, man. I remember the video. He was in like a video with like a hot tub in it, or it's in a limo, and I think it had a hot tub in it or something like that, jacuzzi type joint. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? It was just crazy. And so ever since then, like, you know what I mean? I've always been a fan, of him. And then just like, you know, he was always braggadocious and always, you know, he was always a fly dude. You know what I mean? So of course, being a New Yorker, you know, during the height of Cam, it was a no-brainer. You know, in the early 2000s, the Dipset era, you know what I mean? It was an absolute no-brainer. You know, so yeah, but he was on, you know, they had him on CNN asking about the whole Diddy thing. And before I go into what was said or what happened on the interview, my first thoughts is why is Cam on CNN talking about Diddy? Like, what is that connection? That brings me back to this. I don't know. This is kind of like a Family Guy like episode, or at least like, you know what I mean, that montage when you jump into something else. But it brings me back to when 9/11 happened and like MTV was on the screen and they asked like Ja Rule like what he thought about it. Like, who the hell cares what Ja Rule thinks about? Not like who, you know what I mean? Like, no, who cares? You know, and so it just that alone just is like, all right, I don't know. Did you guys just want any celeb you could get just for, you know what I mean? Like, you got to have a celeb, so just get whoever the hell you can, and it happened to be Cam that day. Like, that's the way it seems to me sometimes when I see random celebs on something. It's just like, yo, y'all just had to get anybody, right? Anybody of some notoriety that you could possibly link. Like, when is that? I don't think I ever even seen Diddy and Cam together, ever. But anyways, so Cam pretty much, he gave a very interesting interview. And I guess I'll link a little bit of it in just so you guys can see kind of his character in the video. So we'll just watch that now.
Is there something known in the industry about how Diddy treated his artists?
So I'm going to get some cheeks after this horsepower joint. I'm just going off what May said.
An interview with rapper Cameron kind of went off the
So, I mean, as you can see, there ain't no other way around it but just saying that was just, man. I don't know, man. That was like just some ghetto. So yeah, that was just some hood ghetto shit. And I mean, like, I know he probably, he thinks he probably is like keeping it real to an extent. And, he is, but on the other hand, it also reflects poorly on us. It makes us look bad on the grand scale of things. And maybe that could have been why they had him on there, because they knew that he would present himself in a certain light and portray us in a certain manner. That could be all by design. You gotta, you have to think about those things. And, because like, why else would you have him on there? What is the motive behind it? So, Cam made an interesting point that, they never really had him on there on CNN before for anything. And, obviously they only want to pretty much have him on to talk about Diddy and some, negative things, which made a lot of sense. So it made a lot of sense, for sure. But I don't know, man. Like, if you have to think about the bigger scale of things and whether they brought you on there, for something positive or not. You know what I mean? You still have to portray yourself in a certain manner, and what you do reflects on many. So, that's like a life lesson. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. And, I seen someone make a great point that, the topic at hand was, Diddy, and sexual assault, and physical abuse. And then Cam, is taking a libido supplement kind of thing, So it's just like, we here to talk about sexual assault and you taking a sexual, stimulant, kind of thing. Just kind of, just pretty distasteful, overall, you know what I mean? Which is unfortunate because I like Cam a lot. We can move on to the Boeing saga. So there's been this thing with Boeing for a little while now. And it's really interesting because they have had what they call whistleblowers, people who come out and basically are telling what the hell's going on behind the scenes that, the company doesn't want the public to know. And these people are turning up dead, from suicides and all sorts of stuff. And that's real world, you know what I mean? Like this is real world stuff that we're talking about. And you know what I mean? Like how is this company not being investigated for these mysterious deaths involved? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff being covered up and played with. And basically this new thing says that the Boeing 777 jet has electrical faults that cause electrostatic discharge that is disastrous for fuel tanks, could cause wings to catch fire and or explode, and over 300 planes are affected or at risk. And so these planes, are severely under maintained, and these companies don't want to invest in like, I guess, keeping them maintained, or just investing in like, making them better overall. But they're basically trying to maximize their profits. But you got to think, with the way the economy is and everything, fuel prices are astronomically high now. Flight prices are higher in response to that. Now, sure, there has to be less traveling just because of the cost of traveling, and just the lack of money flowing around. You know what I mean? There has to be less of everything in terms of traveling. And so, prices are getting crazier, which means that these companies have to maintain, status quo, and maintain what they're making and stuff. So that means if they're paying, they got to pay people less, and they have to maintain these airplanes less, which sounds crazy, because if one goes down, now you know what I mean? Like, it's just a snowball effect. But I guess the likelihood of them really, going down, I guess, is kind of slim, because again, planes are still the safest mode of travel, I'm pretty sure, or at least definitely one of them. So I don't, I don't know what's going on with this right now, but it's definitely something to watch, because I feel there's just so much distraction that it's like hard to keep on everything, to keep up on everything. You got this Boeing thing going on, but then you got that going on over there. Then you have to worry about presidential stuff over here. Then food, there's just it's chaos all over, and it's tough to really stay on top of it all, and to really know what's decipher of what's real and what's not. This head transplant thing, I'm just gonna basically show you the video of the concept, and have you guys watch this, and just yeah.
Introducing BrainBridge, the world's first revolutionary concept for a head transplant machine, which uses state-of-the-art robotics and artificial intelligence to conduct complete head and face transplantation procedures, ensuring smooth outcomes and faster recoveries. Because head transplants require high speed, precision, and efficiency, BrainBridge utilizes advanced high-speed, high-precision robotic systems to speed up the process, eliminate human error, prevent brain cell degradation, and ensure seamless compatibility. The head transplant procedure involves removing a person's entire head.
I know it looks like far-fetched and crazy, but if they are showing us this concept, something tells me they've probably had the ability to do it for the last 20 or 30 years. like the they they really have had the ability to do it. Yeah, so it's just like, what does this mean moving forward? A rapist with a cancerous body can basically take his head off and put it on a fresh donor body, or a serial killer who, could take his head off and, replace it to a new donor that, where does it go? What can it do? Yeah. With something with a technology like this, it's going to it'll change everything. And the thing that I don't think people realize is that it's a concept, but something tells me the technology, you know what I mean? Like the ability, just even the thought of it being a possibility is insane. And the fact that they have of what appears to be a working concept tells you that we don't know anything at all. Nothing. And I'll leave it at that, because where are we going with stuff like that? And this, yeah. Okay. Next up, we do got a Edward Scissorhand reboot coming with Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet. I just want to say, first off, I'm good on it. I don't particularly have any desire to see it. I think I'm pretty much over remakes of old movies and such, old songs, kind of old shoes, like old everything. Like, I think at a point we're going to need or have to leave vintage or retro stuff in the past, to move forward. Is because, like, of all of the ability of today to do anything, why are we going back to make an old movie? Like, make something new. Yeah, I'm good on it, but I just thought I'd share it because it's yet another remake. I want to move on to sports quickly. I watched a Tim Duncan and Richard Jefferson podcast. I don't know. I think he just might have started out his podcast, Richard Jefferson, but he had Tim Duncan on. And while I probably typically wouldn't watch a Richard Jefferson podcast, I watched it because Tim Duncan was on, and I know he isn't a very vocal person in terms of media. And so I was just like, why not watch it? And it was great. You know what I mean? You could tell that that these guys have a relationship, and it came through immediately in the video. But it was cool to see like some humor in Tim Duncan, because he never really appeared to be a humorous person to me. He was always like serious and just never really came off like a fun guy. And so it was nice to see that side of him. Recommend checking it out. Next up, we got Antonio Brown filing for bankruptcy. Says he owes over $3 million. He made over $88 million playing football, though. So he owes 3, but made 88. He owes 3, but made 88. Okay. Claims he only has $50K in assets. So, man, I don't know. I want to feel like salute to him, but it sounds like, I don't know, man. It sounds like nothing but a headache. If you got the bread, Why in the world are you dodging 3 million if you got 80 like, you know, I mean, at a point, you know, you just I guess when you're broke, you can't really understand rich people problems. I can't, you know, I hope I get to that point where you know, I can face them problems and be all right with it. Uh yeah. So this past weekend was the Monaco Grand Prix, which I was able to watch, and they there was a point where Lewis Hamilton was gifted an Ayrton Senna race worn helmet, and Ayrton Senna is one of Lewis Hamilton's heroes growing up, but he's also one of the best F1 drivers ever in F1 history. And so I believe the family of Senna gifted him this, you know, race worn helmet. And I seen that and I thought, you know, I just thought that was super cool to receive something from your hero. And, you know, in that manner, it was just awesome. I did want to just quickly touch on, since we were in sports, this Red Bull scooter. I mean, I guess you can consider it sports. It might be even automotive, maybe. But anyways, I had happened to just see, I was on something, and you know, this Red Bull scooter crossed my path. And I'm just like, you know, it looked cool. It, you know, looked robust and, you know, heavy duty. So I'm just like, all right. Looks like, you know, it's a real scooter. Then I'm just like, all right, I wonder how much it is. And this thing costs $6,500. It only goes 20 miles per hour, and it goes 40 miles of distance for $6,500. I don't know. How many are they going to sell? How many Red Bulls do you have to drink to get one? How many Red Bulls is $6,500? Huh. Anyways, they had two different versions. They're both $6,500. But I guess it's abundantly clear that Red Bull is batshit crazy. They are working on an actual hypercar as well. I'm kind of excited to see what that'll be like, you know, and how they go about doing that. But yeah, $6,500 scooter when Bugatti sells an electric scooter for $1,000. And you can get those at like BJ's and like Costco or something like that. So, although it's not as robust as the Red Bull joint, like, it's a Bugatti scooter. I'd rather have the Bugatti scooter personally and save 55 hundo. Peace on that. Shoes. We got the EQLZs. This is a new shoe by a former Nike designer. And, you know, he debuted 3 colorways of the shoe. I do think they look good. I was kind of curious as to why they would all be tonal, like white and black, you know, monochromatic, no color in them at all. I found that to be interesting. But outside of that, the shoe does look good. There wasn't any real branding that I seen on them. But I thought it was cool in this climate to drop something like that. And they definitely appeared to be received well. So I'm interested to see where the line and where it all heads moving forward. Just wanted to touch on that. We got Nike trying to block the I Hate Sneakers trademark. I get it. It's funny. I actually thought I had an idea similar to that a while back. I don't remember exactly what it was. It could have been I hate sneakers, or um, it might have been more vulgar, like just like F sneakers or something. But you know what I mean? I can't tell you how many sneakers obviously I entered and didn't hit on. So you know what I mean? Like after every one of them L's, I'd be pissed and just like, yo, fuck sneakers kind of thing. Um, but so yeah, Nike's trying to block them. I don't know how that's gonna work because it's abbreviated SNKRS. I don't know if Nike owns that. I don't know if Nike can own that. I mean, I'm sure they probably could, but I don't know how that, I need to know if they own that, like if they've actually kind of trademarked that or not. That would make a lot more sense in this. Yeah. Quickly, Supreme patent leather Wallabies. I've never owned a pair of Wallabies. This was actually a shoe that I hated growing up. I always thought they looked funny. But I've grown to appreciate them. I've still never owned a pair. But this patent leather pack was kind of like surprising to me. Definitely nothing that I would buy. I would maybe I'd wear them, you know what I mean? If given, but I wouldn't buy them. Nah. We got a Sperry's and Concepts boat shoe collection, and I think these look awesome. Boat shoes have been like kind of quiet as of late, but you know what I mean? I've been pretty much rocking boat shoes since the 2000s, early 2000s. I haven't worn a pair of boat shoes in a good while, but I still got a good few pairs. And they basically created a boat shoe upper with what looks like a new midsole, more of a shoe or a vulcanized sole, which gives it a different wearability. I think they look great. I'd love them. I would absolutely rock them. The clear soles over time aren't going to be the best because they will yellow. So, you know what I mean? There will be a point where you're wearing them and they'll look aged just based off of that, which I don't particularly love. But fresh out the box, they look great. They do retail for $150, which also I was just like, damn, for a pair of boat shoes, that's hot. That's like top of the market for me for a pair of boat shoes. But I'm sure a pair of Sperry's are, you know what I mean? I don't know, $100, $110 or something. I haven't really looked in a while. But yeah, I think, dope collection for sure. Next up, we got Skepta saying Nike treated him like an influencer, never received any royalties. To him, I don't think he realizes that he was an influencer. Or yeah, I mean, I don't know, if you don't have any design chops beforehand, you can't say like I'm a designer and I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like he was expecting to be treated like Kanye in that regard, where he was able to come in and do his own thing to an extent. And it's just like, you don't have that cachet, brother, to be that guy. And while he did, I know he did some units for Nike in the Air Max category, especially like overseas where where he's from and where Air Maxes are huge. But you know what I mean? Like I think, I don't know, I guess maybe it could have been taken out of context, or he might have just been sharing his truth where he felt like he was more than just an influencer. But that's kind of how most artists go into collabs, is you're just an influencer pushing a narrative to sell more shoes. They don't, you know what I mean? Most times you aren't designing anything new. You're just, pushing something. However, so he's now with Puma, and he, I guess, has a new shoe coming. And my thought is, you go into saying, you didn't receive any royalties and, maybe you're more than just an influencer, more of a designer. I don't know. I personally don't like this shoe that debuted. The material is cool, but as a whole, the design just doesn't speak to me. And so to me, it's not a great comeback to what you said about being with Nike. I'll just leave it at that. Next up, man, we got a new Foamposite 1, the DMV Foamposite. And at first, I seen the shoe and I was just like, damn, it's a light pink, rose, goldy kind of foam, which we've had to some, a version of before. So I'm like, all right, I wasn't moved. And then I seen the foot liners, and they were, they had I forgot the name of the tree, the bush or the tree, cherry blossoms, I believe, in them. So I'm like, okay, obviously I get maybe the pink color hit from there, and I'm like, okay, I'm assuming that the DMV has something to do with cherry blossoms, and I found out that they do. So that made a lot more sense, to me, at least with the shoe. I think it's cool that the DMV is getting kind of a PE per se. I don't think that that's the best representation of it, but I'm not from the DMV, so I probably shouldn't, I can't say too much, but it doesn't move me. Maybe, I don't know, why not put the cherry blossoms on the actual outside of the foam posit or ghosted in or something like that. You could have done something, or even a few embroidered cherry blossoms on the upper, or something, just to tie it in a little bit more. Would have, I think, ultimately been more successful. Yeezy Day 2024. I think it's actually today, which is, I'm actually recording this on Memorial Day. I'm a little late shooting, but yeah, I think it's today. And as far as I can tell, because from what I've seen, they got at least 20 different Yeezy models that they restocked for this day. And it's like, where are these shoes coming from? And why are they still selling these shoes? The partnership ended, and it's strange. Like, I understand it. Obviously, Adidas invested a lot and they're trying to recoup whatever they can, but it just seems strange that, like, y'all almost got to know that ain't nobody really checking for Yeezys, at least not no Adidas Yeezys, especially after how that all played out. And he said, said not to really support them, and he didn't design a lot of them, and how Adidas basically was, stealing the sauce from him and, allowing him to do some stuff, but then they're adding, extra product and SKUs and stuff to, to the line. So Adidas is looking crazy for this. Absolutely crazy. Last up in the shoe world, which was a pretty big thing this week, was Cool Kai will have to pay Nike a $1 million settlement for his replica, Jordan 1s that he did with the bolt on the side. He's been selling them for the better part of 3-4 years now, and he obviously has become the face and the highest height of the knockoff shoe game, in terms of like knockoff ones, like not just, replica shoes or whatever, but knockoff ones. He hit the peak of that. And, he had to have made, tons of, millions of dollars off of those, just based off of everything that he's done and, what he's presented on social media. And so only having to pay 1 million when you might have made 2, 3, 4 million sounds like a win. You know what I mean? Anytime you can save face and still, end up on top is a win. And so I salute him, for the accomplishments that he's created, across the board, 100%. And yeah, that it's a win all the way around, and I'm sure the notoriety from the lawsuit only helped him, and typically it helps almost anyone who gets sued by a major corporation. You know what I mean? Because if you weren't known before, you're obviously known after, just based off of who you're being aligned with in a lawsuit. Now, there was another lawsuit that had been settled as well from Nike with Omi in the Hellcat, and if I'm not mistaken, he was ordered to pay $6 or $7 million back. And I would imagine that might have been everything he made off of those shoes. And it's just like, man, how come he didn't get that same deal as Kai? Is it the lawyers, or is it the how did that work out differently? And one thing I could say about the Kai lawsuit was, I don't believe that if Nike had tried to shut down his brand, I don't think they would have had a good outcome from that. He's a young, black, successful entrepreneur doing some wavy shit that just happened to be based off the back of another brand. And, that's no different than, Nike being based off the back of a brand before they were solidified. So I do think that it's a huge win for the culture. And it even went as far as, Kool Kai doing HBCU edition PEs of his shoe. And then, Nike and Jordan ended up eventually doing PEs of Jordans as well. And if that's not a direct, correlation or a direct comparison, then, I don't know what else you could say. That's direct influence to, direct. And there's no way around that. Next, we got I seen something. Nissan is making a perfume that smells like tires called Smell My Dust. I'm assuming it's just like it's a promo thing. Just, to get people talking. They might actually like really sell them or whatever, but I think it just gets people talking about you and sparking, your name in the news kind of thing. So with that said, I think it's cool. Would anyone actually want to smell like tires? I would hope not. Next up, we got this BMW Skytop concept that just was unveiled not that long ago. I think it looks great. It's interesting. The one thing I noticed was the interior. It looked immediate. I immediately noticed that it was from a production car, like that's currently being made. So that told me that while it's a concept, they have the ability to make it, or they are very eagerly interested in making it if they're putting a pre-existing interior in it. So the outside is all new. My thought is that it was a look at the next generation 8 Series, But it's being said that they're actually considering making about 25 to 30 of them. And that would be cool. Now the 8 series MSRP is about 100 something thousand. I would imagine these 25 to 30 cars would probably be around 200 to 300,000 just based off of the rarity. But they did do a M4 CSL, and that thing retails for like 700,000, and a regular M4 is like a regular M4 is like, I don't know what, 80, 90,000. And so you know what I mean, like that price disparity might actually be really, really big, just as they try to create some Halo products, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. I think it looks good though. Last up in car news, EV3 Kia. They just announced a $30,000 electric SUV that's actually coming to America, which is super exciting. I think it looks great. They they unveiled the EV9 that's been on the streets for a little while. I don't think I've seen any on the road, but I have seen some at the dealers. That's another great car. Kia is definitely designing and building some of the best cars on the road right now. I don't think people are really talking about it because it's not an American company or a German company, but they are doing some really exciting things, and they're kind of like almost creating a lane for themselves, being an affordable brand that's pretty much giving you, high quality, good quality product. The only thing close to that was Volkswagen in the mid to late 2000s before the Dieselgate thing happened. They were another source for really good cars. And not that they make bad cars now, but the Dieselgate thing set them back like what seems to be like a decade, because the cars are so boring now. Apple Music's 100 best albums. I got this notification in my Apple Musics, and I was just like, this is pretty random to get just like in May, but I was like, okay, cool. I took a look, and I didn't look at the whole 100 list, but they have Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation album as number 1. And while I think it's one of the best hip hop albums ever, how in the world can that be number 1? Like, I can think of probably a million non-minorities that have probably never heard that album or never listened to Lauryn Hill in general, So like, how is she number 1? It immediately took out like all validity out of the list for me. What would we consider to be the number 1 album ever? Subjective, but I think the consensus would be Thriller by Michael Jackson. And I don't even know where Thriller was, because it didn't even matter. You know what I mean? It ain't number 1. I don't know. Apple, that was a huge miss. I would say. Yeah. We got a new Drake verse in this Sexy Red song, You My Everything. And while I seen that Sexy Red had an album dropping, I immediately knew that I would not be partaking in it in any way. It's just not for me. I knew it wouldn't be for me. I don't want it to be for me. And it doesn't need to be for me. But, I'm a huge Champagne fan. And then, after the album dropped, everyone was talking about the song. And so Drake basically raps on the Metro Boomin BBL Drizzy beat. He breaks it down towards the second half of his lyrics, or second half of his verse. And that part was dope to rap on the diss track Meant for You on an official song. But outside of that, like, of course, Drake's, he did his thing. Lyrics were great, but outside of that, there's no saving the song. There's no saving the album, I'm sure. And even just listening to her on that song was just like, I don't know, like boiling a cat as it's trying to scratch out of a freaking chalkboard or something. Just like the worst sound ever on some music is what I categorize Sexy Red as. Yeah. I don't know what's going on these days. Dark Times with Vince Staples' new album. I listened to it a couple times. I thought it was all right. Not my favorite project from him. It just seemed like a little bit, I don't know, just maybe something to just put out. I don't want to say just to put out, because there is quality to it, but it just wasn't my favorite project at all. However, I like Vince Staples a lot as a person, as I've as I said in the last about his take on the Drake and K-Dot beef. I think he's super smart, he's super funny, and I really appreciate him a lot. I just this album wasn't the best to me. But we had Gunna also drop an album as well, One of One, and Gunna's Gunna, man. He I don't know if you could say he surprises, because he's kind of consistent in what he's giving you. It's going to be quality. And every project that he's put out has been quality. And so this is no different. I appreciate it. I still want to give it a few more listens. I think I've listened to it like twice, the album, but I definitely want to go back and just give it some more replay. Because I like Gunna a lot. Next, man, I just want to talk briefly about a couple things I've seen. There was a killer whale taking down a great white shark. And they have been known to do it, but this was a single whale, which, as far as I know, hasn't been done before, hasn't been seen before or filmed. And you can see this killer whale like just charging this great white. And you know what I mean? Like, killer whales are awesome. They're they just, yeah, man, they are the shit. And they're super intelligent, they're ferocious, but they also are caring, and they're family bonded and stuff. So they're a great animal. But in that, I seen recently, I was on YouTube and I seen a video where they recently discovered 2 different species of orcas. Like, they always considered orcas to be one species, but they had, I guess you could say, different subspecies within them. And I'm just like, I had learned that orcas from different, groups don't interact with each other, and, they actually can become hostile and stuff. And there was basically a group of orcas that have become better suited for hunting, and they've adapted for it. And then there was a group that have adapted to a different way of hunting. So there's some orcas that don't basically eat any mammals whatsoever, and so they live with these animals in nature, and you know what I mean, there's basically an ecosystem, and then you have these other orcas who are the exact opposite. They develop sharper teeth for catching and eating animals. They became more accurate in their hunting abilities, and even like their communication is different. They speak a lot less, echolocation and stuff like that. And so it's just like, it's awesome to see that these apex predators are evolving in such a manner that, we would have no idea. And there's so much that we don't know about, obviously oceans and animals in general, just because they aren't fully studied and, in that nature. So those are two really cool things that I wanted to share. And last up was this thing I actually seen it a few weeks ago. New homes for rent in Vegas and all over the country. Private equity firms should be banned. These firms are buying up places, houses, and in areas, and then basically only renting them out. So they can't be bought. They can't be bought by potential homeowners. So you know what I mean. While it's the smartest thing from a business standpoint, it's starting to almost become morally wrong, or at least should be considered morally wrong, or should be perhaps banned, because a family is never going to be able to compete with a firm, with endless funding that can, finance whatever. And now that companies and, these firms can see that, hey, we can buy these houses and we don't even have to flip them. We invest in them, and now we have a continuous income stream for the next 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? Like they are just, it's another way of monopolizing the housing market from the consumer. You know what I mean? So you have, it's going to be so out of reach for people, who don't make a shit ton of money to afford, anything in the future, that we have to figure out something, or life's just going to get worse and worse and worse. I don't know. You guys weigh in on that. Tell me what you guys think about it. And I want to thank you guys for staying this long. If you have, that means that you kind of enjoyed it. And I feel like I probably deserve a like or a subscribe. How about a subscribe? But make sure you like it too, because you obviously watched it. Again, make sure you share this. Try to get the word out. This is a work in progress. It's going to be a labor of love for me. I'm working behind the scenes on other things as well. And, I'm just trying to be busy and be positive, and what's the word I'm looking for? Do me. That wasn't the word, but that is what we're going to go with. Peace.